Mazzara. And they get it into Broome. Third-year Tiger, one of the most accomplished players in all of college basketball, and he goes right to work.
Auburn so far perfect from three-point land. Broome drives, lays it in off the glass. Tough.
Now at 5, Broome took a look at it, looking to blow by, lays it in.
Cadeau turns on the boosters, but Broome sweeps it.
Tipped out to Kelly. To Broome, he dunks it home.
Johni Broome was never supposed to be a star. He wasn't a 5-star recruit. He doesn't have elite athleticism. His own high school head coach even joked that he could barely jump. Yet despite all of that, he's become one of the most dominant big men in college basketball, leading Auburn to the top of the SEC and making his case as an NBA prospect. Broome's story isn't just about talent. It's about being underrated, counted out, and still proving people wrong, time and time again. To really understand just how good he is, we have to go back to where it all started. Born and raised in Plant City, an eastern suburb of Tampa, Johni actually came from a strong football background. For generations, the men of the Broome family reached their athletic peaks playing high school football in South Florida, with his older brother, John Jr., proving to be a standout as a defensive end in Plant City High School's class of 2014. John Jr. ended up playing D1 ball at Florida International University, meaning that when Johni enrolled in high school 2 years later, he was expected to follow suit. But Johni grew into a lanky frame inherited from his mother, towering over both his brother and father in his teenage years. As a result, he was pushed to pursue basketball, working on his fundamentals with his father and paying particular attention to his post-game. This allowed him to make the Plant City High School varsity team as a sophomore, following a 6-inch growth spurt. But the 15-year-old Johni was struggling to put any weight on his slim 6'7" frame, meaning that he saw very limited playing time. His parents made the tough decision to let him transfer to Tampa Catholic, a school that was an hour away from their home, but presented Johni with much better odds of playing. When he finally got time on the court, his talent shone through. Now closer to 6'9", the junior helped his team to a state semifinal with some sound fundamentals and instincts, making up for a striking lack of athleticism given his frame. Broome's high school head coach used to joke that he could barely get off the ground, but that never stopped him from making an impact. Despite his size and skill, top programs didn't take notice. He wasn't throwing down highlight reel dunks or flying around the court like other top recruits. His game was more about fundamentals, footwork, and toughness. But in a world that values flash, he was easy to overlook. After some tepid interest from schools in Florida, Morehead State of Kentucky offered Johni Broome a scholarship which he readily accepted before his senior year of high school. Being doubted throughout the entire recruiting process grew a chip on Broome's shoulder, as he enjoyed a stellar senior season, averaging 19.6 points, 10.9 rebounds, and 2.2 blocks per game. He was named Hillsborough County Player of the Year and made another run to the state semifinals, but saw no further interest from blue blood collegiate programs. When he arrived in Eastern Kentucky, Broome was way down the Eagles' depth chart. That was until one of the starting forwards tore his ACL, but Broome still wasn't on the hardwood for the opening tip-off of the 2020 season. He eventually entered the game as a substitute for 25 minutes, shooting 83% from the field, ending the game with 11 points, 5 rebounds, and a steal, more than proving his worth. The Eagles staff had learned their lesson, as going forward, Broome started nearly every game and became an integral part of their setup as they won the conference tournament, of which Johni was the MVP, earning Morehead their first March Madness berth in nearly a decade. This was largely spurred on by Johni Broome's coming of age. He had put on 20 pounds since his high school days, making him a formidable force in the Ohio Valley Conference, where he was named Freshman of the Year and to the All-Conference First Team. Broome averaged 13.8 points, 9 rebounds, and 1.9 blocks, while shooting 57% from the field in a statement debut season of college ball. He'd been slept on his whole career, but had come to life at just the right time. Broome continued to work on his craft, impressing the coaching staff with his ability to quickly pick up on tweaks they asked him to make to his game. His sophomore effort saw him named Conference Defensive Player of the Year with 10.5 rebounds and 3.9 blocks per game, a tally which ranked him third best in the entire country. Finally getting the recognition he had long felt he deserved, Johni Broome entered the transfer portal in 2022 as one of the best big men in the country. All of the Blue Bloods were after him now, with the likes of Kentucky, Duke, Louisville, Gonzaga, Florida, and Houston all in for the Tampa native. Unwilling to go to a program where he would see limited playing time and suffer a similar fate as he had in high school, Broome committed to Auburn. You see, the Tigers had just lost some heavy hitters in the front court, with both Walker Kessler and Jabari Smith gone in the first round of the 2022 NBA draft. As a result, Broome would have a fair degree of flexibility on both sides of the ball, which the coaching staff was convinced would bring the best out of their young stud. And Broome's transition to the next level was seamless, as he was undaunted by the SEC, averaging 14.2 points and 8.4 rebounds per game, leading the team in both categories, which was enough to earn him second-team all-conference honors. As promised, Broome filled in admirably for the talent Auburn had lost, helping them pass the Iowa Hawkeyes in the first round of March Madness with an epic performance. 19 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 blocks to announce himself on the national stage. While 2023 began with Johni Broome proving he belonged at the highest level, he continued to refine his game the following season, becoming far and away Auburn's best player. Broome drew national acclaim for his uptick in production, as his overall field goal percentage and points per game rose significantly, transforming him into a third-team All-American. One of the most significant changes was a rise from 1.3 to 2.2 assists per game from the season prior, as Broome was becoming a more consistent and reliable playmaker as his comfort in Auburn's system grew. When it came down to crunch time, Broome continued his good form, landing a double-double on South Carolina in the SEC tournament semifinal and another on Florida in the final, with 19 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 blocks in that final, proving that Broome was a player who wouldn't shy away on the big stage, contributing to him winning the SEC Tournament MVP award, whilst also being named to the first-team All-SEC roster for his efforts. Broome's big game quality carried through to March Madness, when he posted 24 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, a block, and a steal against Yale. It was one of his best games of the season on the biggest of stages, but it counted for nothing, as the 13th seeded Yale produced a 78-76 victory that shocked everyone, cutting short what easily could have been Broome's last season in college ball. But he came back for a 5th year of NCAA action, with that chip on his shoulder from those high school days motivating him to finish what he had started with Auburn. So, when it comes to the question of how good Johni Broome actually is, the answer has to be very. He put together a legendary season for a resurgent Auburn program, thanks to the mentorship of Bruce Pearl and his own relentless determination. As we've mentioned, he plays with a massive chip on his shoulder, which has fueled his year-to-year improvement. But perhaps the bigger question isn't how good he is now, but how good he can actually become. A quick look at most NBA mock drafts paints a bleak picture. His age and limited athleticism are major concerns for analysts, but if his journey so far tells us anything, it's that Broome has a knack for proving doubters wrong. If he can refine his game even further, his ceiling might be higher than most expect. At worst, he has the skill set and adaptability to be a long-term contributor wherever he lands. But what do you think? Will Johni Broome's game translate to the NBA, or has he already peaked? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.